Hello, everyone. My name is David Lonigan, and I am the Managing Director at Framework Recruitment. And today I am speaking to Adam, who is the Country Manager of QFort UK. Adam, would you give some people an introduction to yourself, your role at QFort, and QFort as a business?
Wow, that's a lot.
Just a
I'll
little
try
bit.
to keep it brief. Yes, my name's Adam El-Hout. I grew up in London, and I'm the country manager for QFort UK Limited. And QFort UK Limited is the directly owned subsidiary of QFort in Romania. And QFort in Romania, we believe, is one of the most technologically advanced
I
factories.
believe too.
Oh, David believes that's good. That's good. David's been out there, so yeah. I mean, we believe it's one of the most technologically advanced factories in Europe. It's it's had about 120 million euros invested into it, and really the vision of the owner, Stefan Kirchu, and his family. I work closely with his son Paul, is to really semi-automate the aluminium window industry the same way that PVC underwent semi-automation, when that resulted in a lowering of prices and in some cases as an increase in quality. And I say some cases. And that's really the whole philosophy of the company, investing in technology, machinery, semi-automating, getting less hands involved with the manufacturing of windows and doors. And probably the biggest USP of QFortis as a factory is that it is a 3-in-1 factory. So essentially, QFort is a glazing factory. So we make glazing units, we build them, we toughen our own glass, we laminate the glass as well. And QFort is a powder coating factory. So we have a vertical powder coating line, horizontal powder coating line, wood grain machines, etc. And of course, QFort is a windows and doors manufacturer, aluminium, PVC, but we're focusing on aluminium for the PVC market. So that's QFort's manufacturing, and it's something that we love to invite people to visit us. David, you had the pleasure of visiting us. We had a good.
Well, yeah. Look, while we're on the subject, let's get into it. I mean, not only after coming back from the trip, it was hard to communicate to people the scale. Like, obviously we had photos, we had videos, but there's, the way the human brain works, you see a photo, you see a video, you don't map it onto the physical reality of what the factory was. And it is hands down, just as I say, the aluminium silo itself, it looked like a place that Elon Musk would launch a rocket from. It's just goes up and back and far and wide. And I think one thing that was really, really impressive was how the bespoke engineering solutions for all of the processes were so impressive. They were so well thought out. The cycle of the aluminium throughout the entire factory, its process, just left us all gobsmacked. Let's not mention the heat.
Yeah, well, I mean, like when you came, it was like 42 degrees Celsius, and I think people were
It's
struggling.
incredible.
I mean, it was
But again,
wasn't it?
the scale of that factory just left people under no illusion. I think it was very early on, just due to the way you and Paul communicated, the way you and Paul acted, and working with you guys left me with this sort of this without a shadow of a doubt, these are people with market leading intentions, with a market leading working practice. But then going to see the factory, that just where I'd already felt that these guys are going to make a big splash just by the way they carry themselves and the values they sort of work towards. But understanding the logistics that then support those initiatives and those strategies, felt that like it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. You can't, unless you are corporately, unless there's some corporate malpractice going on, you guys will make a big splash in the UK market. And I was so impressed. It was such fit for purpose engineering of the highest quality. And when I've been to a few factories and there's none even close to
The
that level.
factories, yeah, thank you. The factory is 40,000 square meters, so really, I mean, it's unfortunately the kind of thing is that we don't have here. Um, I mean, we'd love nothing more than for there to be some larger manufacturing in the UK. But really, the Kirchhoff's family's vision was to take a big punt, a big gamble, just like they always have in the past, and to invest 30 million plus euros in this very single long aluminium line, exactly as you saw, and to implement efficiency into that line. Um, Everything from the smart warehouse, and which is basically a vending machine of profiles, to the powder coating. Um, everything is done at the raw um, component level, raw aluminium, the hardware, the glass being bought in as jumbo sheets. The whole philosophy of QFort is we use the best possible components in the rawest possible format, and we put all of it together in a way that gives you the highest quality product at the fairest quality price. And that's what the whole aluminium line is for. It's to give us 5 to 10 years of capacity, and something to work with, and also enable us as to control quality, which is the single most important thing which has helped
Mm.
QFort. And the
What?
success in Europe gives me a lot of confidence. Um, we do about 90 million euros in Italy, 90 million plus, and we do about 25 in France. And then, of course, the whole market of QFort, Romania, of course, QFort is the market leader there. And again, probably something that partners and companies as they want to work with us will enjoy about us is we do operate our own showrooms, particularly as in Romania. I said we have a couple in Italy as well, so we know what it feels like to create a beautiful showroom, to work directly with end consumers. We know what it's like to go from the factory directly to someone's house, and what that whole experience should look and feel like. And even though in the UK, as we've decided to go with a partner approach and just to work with resellers, we still have that knowledge and experience that we can share with our partners to help them to give something differentiated that looks the kind of to make their clients feel good about buying windows, essentially.
I'd also like to just state as well, I know that we speak so much about, with regards to the factory, about the engineering and the automation, as you say, to keep as much human hands off the product as possible. One thing though that was still really nice to see though was you're still employing an awful lot of people to
Yeah.
ensure that those processes are being carried out and the automation is running smoothly. So it's not like this soulless autonomous machine. There's still a lot of human
So
engineering, and you're just there at making sure the process is being delivered smoothly as possible.
exactly. I mean, like we still need 1,700 people as to run that factory. Ultimately, even with the machines, but nothing beats a a automatic crimping machine that crimps all four corners of the window at the same time, lines them, levels them, crimps them. It just removes all kinds of possible errors that could happen. Hardware machines which can essentially automatically attach some pieces of hardware. Um, a line which is able to stack profiles as they're being worked on. The CNC machines. This just removes. Look, nothing's perfect, but of course, as it removes the possibility of errors as much as possible. And to be honest with you, the products that we're still working on mainly manually are the ones that are more likely to have issues with them. The
You
products
do
which
have,
are
yeah, you do also. What was the wastage again? It was like, it's a
you mean
ridiculously
the
low number.
error,
Yeah,
the rate as of after sales, if you want to call it that, it is below 1%. It is way below 1%. So we can essentially knock out up to 14,000 units a week. Now, some weeks might be 8,000, some weeks might be 10,000. Sometimes it's kind of hard to believe because it looks very calm in there, but I think the calmness is just, yeah, it just shows you as how smoothly some things are running. Um, and yeah, based on our analysis, less than 1% have got a reported after sale issue. And the thing with after sales and with things going wrong, they do tend to be due to communication rather than production issues.
Mhm.
And I think communication is probably, I'd say communication and specification is probably the biggest challenge that, this is just my viewpoint coming in as an outsider, it's probably the biggest challenge that this business faces, because it is highly technical, and specifying the product correctly is absolutely essential.
Well, and yeah, there's so many links in the chain with regards to communicating the whole on
Mm,
site back to the designers, back to the estimator, back to the procurement, yeah. So there's yeah, absolutely right that it's an important part to get right. And actually, speaking of your career journey in particular, because actually one thing that was really so sort of like uplifting about the tour was, when you've been in the business now
less
14
than
months,
two
would you
years,
say?
less than 2 years, yeah, 14, 15 months maybe.
But then I remember you were giving the tour at the factory, and it didn't sound like you'd been someone who had only been in there for one. It was so yeah, like one thing that was beautiful to see was how much like you are now a company man. Like that is your company. You care about the product. You understand the product. Like you've drunk the Kool-Aid, right?
But David, I mean, like I think anyone can learn something new, especially in this
Mm.
industry. I mean, I think
The right
anyone.
I think the right personalities can. Not
Yeah,
like some people are just
it's hard though.
human waste.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really hard, man. I mean, yeah, I mean, I was in the luxury furniture industry for 15 years. That was my career. I studied business and economics. I didn't know what I wanted to get into. I fell into luxury furniture, and I worked for a French company called Roche-Beaubois, very fancy French furniture, one of the best in the world. And I worked in London, and then I was the vice president of sales in New York. Well, I lived in the States for a few years, and we had 30 showrooms there, and I was helping with that. And then moved back to the UK, and I opened the UK and EU division for a Dallas-based luxury furnishings company called Perennials. And I had 6 years with them, and it was very successful. Lovely people, had a very nice career with both of those companies. And I had no intention of ever leaving, to be honest.
No,
And I was approached, and I met Paul Kirchu with his dad, and I met them. And to be quite frank with you, I was just impressed with their vision, their professionalism, the way that they work, and also their ambition. They're just very ambitious, and the company's very ambitious. And there's nothing more I like than a really crazy challenge. So I
well,
couldn't say no,
you've got
basically.
that. I think I'd like to speak to as well. Having met Paul and Stefan as well, there's a. It's. I also think that how they transmit what they care about, those values. I think they do it in such a like a down to earth, really personable approach, and I
Mm,
think, yeah, I think that really speaks to because the scale and the ambition is not thing that most sort of your common man would be used to, but ultimately they are able to communicate it in a really
mm.
really down to earth personable way, and they're nice people to talk to.
Indeed, indeed. And the philosophy of the company is designed to last, is built to last, is engineered to last. And that's not only for the product, but it's for the relationships, the partners we work with. And that's something that I observed very quickly in Paul and also his father very, very early on. And it's something that we're trying to implement here in the UK so that our UK team lives by those same standards. And I feel that's where my experience in luxury could prove very useful. And it's something that I've been able to bring in because obviously the sales technique for luxury goods can differ to what people consider to be a commodity. And windows are, unfortunately, a commodity.
Yep.
It's glass, it's metal or plastic, and trying to differentiate it is extremely, extremely challenging. Because if you're going to buy a beautiful Roche-Beaubois sofa or Fendi Casa or whatever, you will immediately see it's colorful, it's beautiful, the stitching is exceptional, the quality of the foam, the designer fabric, the environment it's in, the service you're receiving. all of that comes together, and someone will spend £30,000 on a sofa. It's no problem,
Mm.
and because it touches into that egotistical side where either someone wants to show or enjoy their wealth, or it touches into the side of the person that just appreciates nice, beautiful things, and they can be a bit more down to earth, but they want beauty in their life.
As someone who I've got into Rory Sutherland a lot lately. Rory Sutherland is the sort of marketing guru and behavioural scientist specialist at Ogilvy,
Mm.
and there is the idea that the well-to-do will buy expensive things, sometimes to signal to the rest of the world their wealth, but actually sometimes also to signal to themselves, to remind themselves
Yeah,
that actually with my status comes this thing. But you're absolutely right with regards to such a we it's an industry with so many challenges, because not only do you have suppliers cut wanting to have the cheapest product, you have installers wanting the cheapest product, you have homeowners wanting the cheapest product, you have even just culturally, Britain is we're a cost-cutting, frugal bunch, and ultimately, when you're trying to, obviously, we can't mess around too much, because if you constantly, if everything is the cheapest, you're getting the cheapest product, which is not the best product.
yeah, yeah. I mean, David. I mean, I do think that it's an industry problem because I mean, ultimately, the French are as well. The Italians are. They're very careful, but they've gone on to to spend quite well in this industry. And I think ultimately, if you're buying a luxury bag or a luxury sofa or whatever, you can immediately differentiate that product. That bag is Louis Vuitton. The logo's on it. It's qualitative. The sofa, the car, the brand is clear. And you can immediately differentiate the brand visually and in terms of touch and feel. So the senses are um, engaged. When it comes to windows, engaged generally is the visual. But in terms of the actual product itself, the only variable we really play with are the slenderness of the frame and the ratio of the frame to the glass. You can also do some funky designs with glass, structural glass, which is why I believe there are so many architectural glazing practices in the UK, because they're trying to create a point of differentiation. But beyond that, what do you have? And I guess that is the challenges of the manufacturer, to try to create that that kind of pointers of differentiation. And again, I would say if you are a Skyframe, for example, it may be easier due to the uniquenesses of the product, of the system itself. But if you're more, I would say, higher to mid market, which is where we are, I mean, like ultimately, you can show the window, but the focus is always going to come down to one thing, and that's quality. And there are some touching aspects, handles. There's the powder coating. For example, we have structured powder coat, scratch resistant. It feels nice when you touch it, but um, those are the challenges, and that's obviously why we're called QFort, quality, fort, strength, because ultimately that is the differentiating factor, and it's something that we just have to push on. And then beyond that, it comes the experience, and that's pretty much all we can rest on: the experience of customer service, the experience when you go into the showroom. Does it smell good? Does it look good? Does it feel good? Is the merchandising attractive? These are things that we can draw on from the luxury industry to make people feel good about buying windows, and it's certainly not done enough. Certainly not.
Oh, certainly. And again, to reference Rory Sutherland, I think we try and solve problems logically, but actually, if you can add some psychological problem solving involved, actually, you can have a lot less spend and yield massive results. So, take for example, in London Underground, um, they what the putting up the posting of when your train's coming at what time. Now, it would have been a lot more expensive to get the trains to run quicker, put on more trains. But by doing that, allowing people to understand when their train's coming in, took away the anxiety of just waiting on the train. So they didn't actually need to do that. So I think, there's absolutely some ways we can attack that. But I just think as an industry, we're just so good at, well, we've done this one thing this way for so long, let's keep doing it. But I think
Let's ask yourself this question. If giving a good experience is not what you're good at, if customer service is not what you're good at, or sales technique is not what you're good at, or merchandising is not what you're good at, right? Four very, very important things in sales. What is the lowest common denominator that you are going to go to in terms of making a sale? What is the thing that you're going to try to do to try to make to win a sale?
price, right?
Price, lead time, price, lead time, price, lead time. Everyone's obsessed with it. Everyone's obsessed with it. It's the lowest common denominator. To be quite frank with you, it makes me want to throw up. Because I am.
There's no advantage.
Sales, yeah.
Yeah, there's not a single advantage to being the lowest priced product or service. There's no strategical benefit. But yeah,
and it's self-harm. It's self-harm.
Yeah.
Harming.
And you've seen 200 companies gone when the margins are when you're literally living in the margin. As soon as it ekes away from you, you're gone.
It is harming this industry. It is harming the customer, and it is harming the business owner. This obsession with lead time and obsession with price. The house prices have gone up a crazy amount, exponentially, and now people are under the belief that they shouldn't spend 3% of the house's value on windows. Why not spend 30 grand? Why not? It's 3%. You're adding 50 years of value to this asset, and that should be
energy. You're also less to heat your house. Yeah. Exactly, less to cool it. Yeah.
I mean, it's in Romania when they sell houses, they literally put this house has QFort windows in it, and it actually adds value. It's actually advertised. Why not? This house has a sub-zero. This house has a sub-zero kitchen. It has Roche Beauvoir furniture. It has QFort windows. All of these things add value. All of these things we don't focus on is in the UK. And I'm of the belief that this industry, just on my viewpoint, has to move away from this bottom strategy of price and lead time and move back into how do I differentiate my business? Merchandising, make the showroom beautiful, luxurious, feel nice, look nice. The vast majority of showrooms, with all due respect, we can all agree, wow, really.
Yeah, they're just rooms with product in them.
There's no experience. And again, if I'm going to spend 30 grand, I want to feel an experience. The service, do I have a sales technique implemented? Do I know how to sell? Do my salespeople know how to qualify? Do they know discovery? Before moving to specification, do they know how to qualify a client? Do they know how to manage expectations with a customer? The answer is most of the time no. I guess if you can't do those things, ultimately your business is going to struggle. And then you're down to price. And if you're down to price only, then QFort is not a good option for you. Because we are a qualitative company. We do sell things which are a little bit more expensive than others. We're like, our product is a kind of mid-market, anyone can afford it kind of product. That's kind of like what we're going for. We're not trying to be a luxury brand that people can't buy. But equally, we're not trying to be inexpensive either. So there will always be something cheap and cheerful that you can buy. But if you promise it in 2-3 weeks, you don't deliver, people are upset, you put pressure on the manufacturer. It just creates a really big vicious cycle. So this is probably the biggest problem as I've seen in this industry coming in as an outsider.
And I think that perspective, as I've said to you before, I think what we really, really, really could do with a lot more of is successful people coming from other industries to not repeat the processes, to not repeat the same, buying work. I think there's, as I said, I have enough data now to know that actually the companies that have business leaders and decision makers who have come in from other industries, who have strategies and processes that transcend any industry, those are the companies that are doing really well, because I think we're always, our projects and product are always future focused, and they're always
Mm,
developing and evolving, but nothing else is. Our hiring processes, our, as you say, some of our sales processes, our operational, our financial, it needs a real kick in the arse, and a real shake up. And I think people,
mm,
yeah, we could do with a lot more people like you who have, have been successful in other industries, who then come in again, who don't have the, who are not, have not been in the game for 20, 15 years doing the same, like, who just, they become part of the furniture. So it's
mm,
hard to be sort of, I think disruptor might be the wrong term, but actually just
mm.
freshen it up and actually
To be fair,
drive things forward.
to be fair, the industry is highly technical, and I'll tell you, the first 6 months it was hard for me. I'm not gonna lie. People think it's easy and oh, just a window and glass and metal, but before you know it, you realize it is highly technical, and every project has different specifications. But I think, to be fair to the resellers and the installers and all the middlemen within the industry, it's, you have a small business, you need a guy that can get all the technical things right. Right, the survey's been done, they can specify the product correctly, make sure that that's transmitted to the manufacturer. Can they also be a wonderful, incredible salesperson? Sales is an extremely unique and difficult skill that most people think they can do, but they've never been trained on it and they don't understand it. And to be fair, to build a team that is both outstanding at sales and also very, very technical is nigh on impossible. And what I've done here at Q4 is, like, I'm clearly the commercial guy, the managerial person that's kind of helping out. I've hired people that are technical. It's very simple. If there are things I'm not good at, I'm going to let them handle it. That's quite hard to do in a small business of 3 to 4 people, but it might be wise that someone is more the commercial person that knows how to engage customers, knows how to problem solve, knows how to sell the dream, and then someone else becomes the technical. I'm going to take over from here. And I think the really good businesses I've seen so far, they do have that. They have 1 or 2 guys that are extremely commercial, and then they have a backup operation where all the technical surveying, post-survey actions can take place, order placement. To be fair, as I understand the problems, I can see why it's happening. It's probably a lack of resources as well.
So, what do you think? Let's concentrate on, actually, again, just actually to make a point. You mentioned one of the fun things. I mean, it wasn't fun at the start, but when I started working with you guys, one thing that was really clear at the start, and then you kind of, obviously everyone says, well, we work the best, we want to build the best teams. These are things that people easily, it comes out of people's mouth very easily, but to actually live it and do it is something very different. And then it was clear when I started working with you guys, it was, you were trying to do, you wanted only the best people to do the best work and that was really, that's been really rewarding. That's been really fun, because you actually then get to see of the work you guys put in, the impact you're having on an industry. I'm getting texts from people saying, "I've just seen a QFort van driving down the road again," and it's like that slow burn, and these sort of, as the as the brand is growing and becoming stronger in the market, people are reaching out and just speaking about it, and that's been really fun. That's been really
We're still,
exciting.
look. I mean, we're still a baby. We're not. We're not. As we want to be humble, we want to respect the companies that are doing well here. And I mean, what I will say before going on to that is, when it comes to recruitment, when you're a manager, you really only have 2 options. Option one is you need a skill which is filled, and you hire the most. You hire someone that ticks as many boxes as possible and has already done those tasks before. Great. They come in from day one. You can probably give them loads of things to do and they'll do it. But guaranteed you will compromise on something. It could be their personality, it can be their background, it can be their drive, what is driving them, what is their motivation. There's probably going to be a compromise. If you don't compromise, then hallelujah, it's perfect. But
Yeah,
it's rare. Or you bet on yourself and your team to bring in someone who is the perfect human being and say, we're going to train them for 6 months to a year, and it's going to be absolutely grueling. But I know for a fact that this person will not let me down.
Mhm.
And that, I used to think option one was the right way, but obviously, like as the years have gone on, and I've recruited, I don't know, maybe between 50 and 100 people is in my time, like personally, directly, especially in like highly specialized sales roles. You just learn over time that, at the end of the day, it all comes down to the motivation and the personality of the person. And if they don't have that, then there's probably going to go wrong.
Yeah, I get asked a lot, what are the skills we need in the industry? And I reframe the question. I often say it's not skills we need, it's personalities. Because the
Yeah,
right personality will learn the skill. And actually, we need driven people, driven
yeah.
people. Because the work is that I think one thing that's great about this industry, it is a career industry. If you can come in and make an impact, and it becomes very obvious very quickly that you then have a set of skills and experience that are marketable and desired
Mm.
across across the industry. And so I just think, yeah, it's personality will always beat skill if it's a person who is a career driven person.
However, you need to have the skills to train them. The patience, the skills, you need training capabilities, you need to be a trainer. You need to be someone who has trained people before, as that enjoys training people. Um, and again, quite unusual skill is not many people have it. So obviously, is the easier thing to do is just to get someone experienced and say, hey, get on with it. So I mean, again, as I understand that, perhaps there is room in the industry in the future for training, specialized training, and perhaps something
Amen.
people should actually invest in the future. So
S-
that's
s-
something. But
Speak. Oh,
yeah,
go on.
go ahead, please.
So, yeah, speaking of skills, what do you think? So, you are quintessentially the face of the UK brand. What do you think are some of the most important skills that you brought with you that were able to deliver for Q4? Blow your own trumpet time. Go for it.
Um, I mean, if I was like, look, I mean, there's loads of things I could talk about, but I mean, if I was to boil it down to just one thing, is that even though I've been a managing director, I've been a VP of sales, etc., etc., ultimately, deep down inside, what I am ultimately is just a salesperson. And I'm a salesperson from another industry, an industry where you need highly specialized skills in the sales funnel, the sales technique. Some people call it the funnel. Um, and that is essentially the 5 steps of sales: discovery, greeting, discovery, specification, closing, and then after sale. And I've essentially trained over a couple of hundred people in these techniques in different countries over my time. And that's probably one of the strongest things is that I brought is that bringing a highly, I call it art and science. I call it as an approach to sales where you combine technical proficiency, as in the scientific approach, which is, hey, there's X amount of potential customers. I'm going to do X amount per week in order to reach Y, and I'm going to do it systematically, systematic sales, business development. And then there's the art of how do I behave? What is my body language? What is my language? How do I deal with the problem? How do I speak to people? I think that's probably the single strongest thing is that I've brought is the ability to build the team, to have them functioning, to have them working well together. That's pretty much is my wheelhouse. I'm good at other things as well, but I've had to become good at them. It's not what I'm naturally good at.
I'd like to add something, and I think I hope I don't murder this. There's and I've had this. We've been working together for over a year, well, about a year, just over a year. We've introduced partners. We've worked with different people. Obviously, there's people over on the tour, and someone else, me and someone else were talking about you, and there's this. You have this like you have a real personable, real human touch, but people go to bat for you, Adam. There's something about the way you communicate with other people, no matter if they're, you know, the CEO all the way down to the cleaners and the janitors. You have a communication style that I just think is so engaging. Like, people want to, like, if I knew now, like, you know, if I'd go to war for you, I imagine, if I worked for you, you have this ability to, I
That's
don't know,
good.
there's a, yeah, like there's someone else I know. I think he's my person. I mentioned this to someone I used to work with. We had him as a boss, and I said, "Do you see some of our old boss in Adam?" And he was like, "That's it. That's exactly." There's a calm professionalism about the way you work and the way and the energy that you transmit, and I think it's almost undefinable, but I can speak to it, and I know other people have said to it too. So I think, yeah, they're lucky to have you, buddy. They really are.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I mean, ultimately, sales is storytelling. You have to tell a story. You make a promise. The promise is created. It's in their mind. You then have to deliver on it. You're going to disappoint some people, unfortunately. And then how do you react when that happens? Do you go hiding? Do you go running? Do you start crying? Do you start arguing? Or do you just accept and do you own the things that you should be owning? And that
Yeah.
may result in relationships is not going the way that you want to. And yeah, I just think is that ultimately, if you have the heart is of a true salesperson, which is ultimately a servant, you enjoy serving people, then and you've got the humility to do that, then I think you could be a really good leader, a really good manager, director, leader, whatever it is you want to do, um, because I mean, ultimately, if you can transmit that same way of working as to other people that you work with, then personally, I think it's a good thing.
Actually, even in just hearing you speak then, and even sort of processing the data myself, even that way, I think transmission is such an important aspect of what you do so well, because there's the transmit what we do in speak, there's transmit what we do in just even the cadence, the tone of our voices, the way our body language is, and I think your ability to transmit your ideas is yeah, really powerful, absolutely powerful. Because again, I remember. Not only did I enjoy working with QFort because it was a client that had just turned up in the market, and obviously that's exciting and fun, and then there's obviously the scale of the operation, but it was also you. Like, there was something fun about, the thing you transmit is is
Listen, David,
wholly.
like, we have to enjoy it as well. Sales should be enjoyable. Working with customers should be enjoyable. There is a lot. I think there's way too much stress. There's
Oh,
way too much
if you
stress.
want more, come to this.
I
Yeah,
mean, like, we're
that's
not
one thing
heart.
we can give people.
I say this to the sales team: we're not heart surgeons. No one's dying. Everything is always urgent to everyone. Everything's urgent all the time. Urgent, urgent, urgent. It's not urgent. 90% of the time, it's not as urgent as people are making it out to be.
Mhm.
If they just took a deep breath and just planned a little bit better or managed expectations better, they wouldn't feel so stressed. And but
Absolutely,
again,
it's that
again,
maxim of, was it write the letter, put it in the drawer, come back to it the next day. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
again, if your promise to your client is "I'm the fastest, I'm the cheapest," then you will rest on your sword, and that will be the sword that kills you
Absolutely.
because that's what you stand for. And if you're not the quickest, and if you're not the cheapest, you're going to feel the anxiety from them. You're going to feel the stress from them, especially the lead time part. But actually, if your sales technique was, listen, the other guy might have quoted you 6 weeks and I'm on 10 weeks, but this is the reputation of my company. These are the projects we've worked on. This is the experience you've had. Are you enjoying working with me? Yes. This is what I can give you, a service which is outstanding. I work with partners, products that are outstanding. And I think that's easier said than done. I think it's easy to say that, but it takes a lot of skill.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, just to start towards sort of wrapping thing up, can you speak to just that bit with regards to working with Framework and how you felt that sort of Framework's USP with regard to our, knowledge of the market,
Yeah.
knowledge of its people, and how that sort of benefited Q4?
You're egotistical. You're nasty. You know what I'm talking about? No, really.
Tell
I
them
mean,
something they don't know.
no. I mean, no. Listen, it was really hard for me to enter this industry and to come on this journey with Paul. We started off in like a little office, like just like the two of us. We now have a team of 10 and the showroom's opening soon. And like we've come a long way, but I'll tell you, the beginning was hard, right? And I was feeling kind of lonely, like, oh my God, what have I got myself into? You are going to fail. This is, you don't even know what a window is. You're a mess. But I didn't know who to recruit. I didn't know what skills they should have. We had like one partner only. It was just like, it's a very, very hard situation to be in. And at those times, what you really need is you need an advocate. You need to make friends. And I think that's what I found in you, is someone who is immediately I was able to talk to on like a daily basis. I would tell you the things I was going through. And someone that also is respected is in the industry. People know you've worked in the industry, you know what's going on. You have the experiences that I don't have, and I was able to leverage that straight away. And it made me feel a lot better. So I would say that is the human part, and like you really gave me like a lot of your time. I find you to be a gentleman, and always just trying to be practical, dealing with things. And beyond that, now talking the actual services side, you've obviously helped us to recruit, I think, all of our key team members, technical,
Some good
particularly in
ones there.
technical, and not just in technical, in sales too, but the hardest sometimes to recruit are those technical people. And you helped us to hire some very exceptional people that were not easy to convince, because when you're a new company, it's in a country, like you're a new company. Okay, it's in Italy, QFort, great. We are the third largest window company in
One
Italy.
thing that actually surprised me was that
Mm.
we hadn't heard of you before you guys came, and that was actually like a mixture of ignorance, but also just we didn't know.
No, it's normal, it's Windows, and I guess why would someone know a big window company in Italy? I mean, I suppose maybe not. But now that people know us, they actually now go back and go, actually, it's funny. I do see your name. I have seen your name before, but I guess it wouldn't click. And when you're new in a country, it doesn't matter. Like if you're big in Italy or France or whatever, or so Romania, no one cares. No one cares. People care about, are you big in this market? So just having an advocate like you to help us bring in these people to sell the QFort brand and the dream to them uh, was obviously invaluable. So that would be, that would be as my summary, as of framework.
Oh,
I
bless you,
could
man.
always
No,
add
and it's
more, but
yeah,
also
yeah.
very, very fun.
No, as you said, if it's not enjoyable, like no one will remember you. No one will remember working
Yeah.
with you. And there's that. Is it? I can't. I forget her first name, but Anjanou, and she said, "People will forget what you say. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." And I definitely think there's like, yeah, there's an element of that's what we try and do ultimately. And again, if you can't have fun while you're doing it, especially when our product, like it, no, people aren't a product, but ultimately what we do is a people's enterprise. And
Hmm.
ultimately, if you can't have fun with those people, well, you've missed a trick.
Oh, no, no, no. Like this industry, I'll tell you, like one of my biggest takeaways just this year and a half is that there's definitely too much stress. Oh my goodness. And I think a lot of small business owners are just doing so many multiple functions at the same time. Bless them, I mean, these are families,
Mm,
these are good people just trying to get by. And ultimately, if you're always overloaded all of the time, then the only emotion you're going to feel is stress. So
absolutely,
solutions are needed. Solutions are needed, and
and
one of
absolutely.
the
We
main
just do.
solutions,
Oh,
pardon me, one of the main solutions that QFort can offer is, hey, why not buy most of your products from one place, from one factory that can be trusted, where you receive one service, where we can take on a lot of the kind of heavy lifting for you. That's kind of one of the benefits of working with a good factory, a good trusted source. Um, whether
and
it
again,
whether it's QFort or something else.
I'm here to bang that drum about how I I think it's best in class. Your factory is best in class. I might have to do some more around the world tours to get a full grasp of what competition is out there at that scale. But we've been to some pretty prestige. Some of the brands we might have even mentioned one of the brands in this conversation, and it couldn't hold a flame to your factory.
In terms of manufacturing, not of extrusion and system making, which is a different level. But in terms of manufacturing, yes. I mean, we're very proud of what we're doing. There are some bigger companies in Europe. There are the Internorms of the world. There are Oko Ekner and these kind of larger operations. And however, I would say for the size and the journey and the trajectory we're on, what we're trying to do is quite unique. And now we just have to deliver. And for that, we just need to make some really, really good friends over here in England and in the UK in general. And we have to ride the ups and downs. And like I said, we're not perfect. This is why I say to every company, we're not perfect journey. We're implementing new software. We're opening new um, premises. We're perfecting some products which we've recently introduced to the UK. So it's not about perfection. It's just about being working towards it and treating people in the right way.
And lastly, just to finish, because I think this is one thing that we as a business have to do better at transmitting, and we'll probably be doing a lot more of that next year. But outside of the recruitment side of things, we've also connected you guys to some trade partners. Again, due to our access, not only
Right.
the access you guys provided us, but the access we have with our clients, which makes us to be in a really unique position to go, actually, we think you should talk to these guys because
Correct.
they could really do with your product and vice versa.
To be quite frank with you, it's been absolutely invaluable. Again, just having someone vouch for you, someone to say, guys, these are good people. This is a good factory. Um, I mean, you have indeed Framework have indeed um, introduced us to many companies, and things are going very well. As with most of those companies that you've introduced us to. Why is it helpful? Because you know us and you know them. I know us, but I don't know them. So you've got a unique insight in thinking, oh well, I know this guy very well, and I know he would fit QFort well. Because ultimately, we don't want to, or have the ability, or have the desire to sell to everyone in the UK. So we need to find the right partners, and Framework have that ability to kind of to bring those two parties together if it's suitable, and that's been
That's the thing. I
extremely.
think the reason we've been so happy to do it in your case as well, though, is again because knowing the brand, knowing the people, knowing the work, knowing the values that you guys have as a company, these are absolutely the companies we want to champion. More QForts, man. More
Yeah.
QForts.
Thank you. And listen, you know what? One of the challenges that we face is that ultimately England is an island. As I grew up here, and there's a certain feeling of, oh, I'm buying this local. It's made in England. It's made in the UK. We all know that none of the products are made in the UK. The systems are all from out of the UK,
The
essentially.
only thing that's made consistently in the UK is resentment.
Yeah, and listen, coming as a European company, I mean, ultimately you have to overcome those fears. You have to create a local service and a field that makes them feel comfortable. So I mean, like I can kind of understand that mindset of, oh yeah, but
Mhm.
it's down the road, it's local. It makes sense, but I think what we hope to do will be just like the car industry, where someone buys a foreign car, a European car, but the showroom, the service center, the salespeople, all of that is local, and they feel that it's local.
Yeah.
I think that's what we need to do, and again, like we can't do it unless great people are vouching for us. So we thank you sincerely for that, and I know that it's going to continue. So
No, thank you very much. Again, Adam, thank you so much for your time today. That was absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. And we love working with you guys, man. And not only as you as a professional individual, but QFort and the brand, you guys have been, but because also we have the feedback of the people we've put in. They're like we wouldn't be going anywhere as a business if we were just connecting great people to crap companies, to companies where
Oh yeah.
they weren't in people didn't invest in them, where companies where they didn't see, well, this is the job today, but this is what it's going to be next year or the year after that. And then the feedback is so consistent from you guys. So thank you so much.
No, thank you. Thanks, David. Here's to the next few years. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you.